Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Zide Women's Podcast. I'm your host, Maitri, and my goal with this podcast is to make women's wellness accessible and easy to implement. Now, our guest for today is extremely special because we are collaborating with Risha and her podcast Locked In. Firstly, I think that's such a beautiful name. It really resonates with me, Risha. And it's so apt because Locked In is not only a podcast, it's a platform for Gen Z founders and builders to share their growth journeys. And coming to Risha, she's such a multifaceted woman to say the least. She is not only the founder and host of Locked In, but she's also an international student at Heriot-Watt Dubai, pursuing her bachelor's in accounting and finance. She's also studying for her CMA while simultaneously interning at her parents' auditing and accounting firm. She's just such a pure hustler. And honestly, I'm so thankful that despite her jam packed schedule, she still made time for this conversation with me today. And I'm so honored to have you here on Zaid Risha. Thank you for making this happen.
Maitri, you're too kind. It is my pleasure to be here and to be on your podcast. I'm somebody who's been a viewer as well as a fan of your journey straight from when we had even fall to now this and your solo podcast as well. So it is such a full circle moment to me to be here and to be able to speak to you, and it's also fun to be on the other side for once and to actually talk and not be the host. So it's really cool for me to be here.
That's lovely. Thank you. You are too kind, Risha. Thank you. So, I would like to firstly ask you, you're an international student in Dubai, right? So, what were the challenges that you initially faced, like the teething problems when you were settling into Dubai?
I feel Dubai sounds really fancy and really out of the world, that okay, it's the best place to be in. But as special and as glamorous as it is equally intimidating, because you go from a tier 2 city in India to perhaps one of the best cities in the world, and it's huge. There is so much to do, so much to see, so much to learn, and initially it is very intimidating. And especially for me, I've been somebody who's been born and brought up in Indore in India. So for me to move away from my family, to leave the shell behind and to just jump into this ocean was really, it was something that I dreamt of, but also when it actually happened, I was like, okay, how do I actually navigate this? But I also feel that it being Dubai and it being more closer to home, it was a more easier process. For example, the friends of mine who went to the US or UK, I'm sure they would have had an extremely difficult experience. But for me, since it was more socially and culturally similar to India, and I had a couple of friends there as well, so it was easier for me to mingle. But then, even though I did well socially and with uni, I think for me personally it was a huge jump and just something that forced me to be a whole new version of myself. And I think that is something that every international student will relate to as well.
That's lovely. I mean, I really like how you highlighted both like the pros and the cons because like you mentioned, looking at Dubai, it's such a beautiful and glamorous city, right? It seems like there's just pros and no cons, but it certainly is hard moving away from home. But also, like you said, since it's a little closer to home, not as far as like UK or US, it would have been a little easier. But no doubt, I'm sure you would have, had to fight for your stay there. So that's lovely. Thank you for the answer. Now, I would like to ask you, when we are in university, right, budget constraints are very real. So, especially like a high-end city like Dubai. So, please break it down to me. How do you cost control for all your essentials when it comes to your food, your skincare, your body care, your health care? How do you cost control?
I think the best form of cost control that any international student does is to take as much stuff as you can from India to where you're going. So
That's true.
anytime you go back or anytime somebody from India comes, usually I used to order or get all of my essentials from India only, because the cost variance is insane. Something you get for 700-800 in India would be 40-50 AD there, which is like 1200, 1300. So it's almost like a 2x
Wow.
jump. especially when it comes to skincare and more wellness product. They're already super expensive here. So then with the markup value there, they were slightly unaffordable. And especially as a broke college student, most of my funds went into going out with my friends, hanging out. So then by the end of the month, I had such a small budget to actually spend on these wellness products that I sometimes was like, okay, let me just make do with what I have. So I remember I packed these huge as pads of makeup, of skincare, and from there I barely bought something. So that is a tip that I would also give to all people going to uni or in uni, is the essentials you need, like shampoo, your moisturizers, makeup, which you know you'll use. It's good to take it all with you so that you actually save on there and actually then spend that cash on experiences and on like just where you'd actually like to spend them.
That's lovely. I think that's a beautiful tip, like stocking up from your home country
Yeah,
instead of spending it there, because it's the same products, right, that you get in the
exactly.
UAE as well.
Yeah.
It's the exact same.
Yes, it's exactly the same. Of course, I personally prefer some Indian homegrown brands like
Absolutely.
Derma, Foxtail, which may not be available there. Some of them do have international shipping to there as well. But then if you go on to more high end brands, especially into makeup, all of it is actually available there as well. But then of course the price difference is insane.
That's crazy. I mean, you mentioned like something we would get for like 700 here. You get it
Exactly.
for 1200 there. For the same product, would be a lot of waste of money essentially, because
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
getting the exact same product. So I think it's a lovely tip. And anything else you did when it comes for cost control?
Something that I did, I mean, I tried to budget initially, but then it didn't work out. I'll be very honest. I am slightly more of a spendthrift kind of person that comes that way. But then something that we also did is we always were on the lookout for deals and discounts, because Dubai as a city has insane discounts and deals. So for food, for events, or for just stuff like that. So all of their food delivery apps as well, like Theta, have insane deals. So they'll give you 50% off, buy one that one almost every day. So just knowing what products you can actually get with these discounts were really important. And then also something we did is that we tried to go out to fancy places with large groups of people. So when you do also go on to these expensive places, if you have a lot of people with you, that build that split into people. So there is also, I mean, there is practically a good idea for students as well, is that if you're trying to go out with a lot of people, and also it's more fun.
That's
And we also availed a lot of student discounts. So for your uni email, if you go on to Perplexity, if you go on to Google, or if you go on to all of, or even if you go into some stores like Apple and Ninth, they will give you student discounts as well. So for my first year of uni, I actually used Perplexity Pro for free, since I got that with my student email. So just like, staying on top with your student discounts, looking out for deals in general, and just like trying.
wow. So you mentioned apps that deliver food. So do they, supply skincare products or other things as well along with food?
Yes, so there was an app called Noon. So Noon is something
Okay.
that does food, it does groceries, it does skincare, all of that as well. Sometimes, so in times of festivals, you would also get insane deals on your wellness products as well. So just knowing when these deals run, what products these deals run at, is really important, and you get these information on social media. So just staying up to date onto what's happening, what is something you can go to, are good ideas as well. And also one more thing that I've seen a lot of people on social media do is that in a few hours from Dubai, there's a city called Ajman, where they have these huge warehouses with cosmetics and skincare products, wellness products, and you get those at really affordable prices. So I'm not somebody who actually went there to buy them, but I had a couple of friends who did. So I mean, you could definitely check those out as well. And in we also had stores like Chemist Warehouse or off white. So just stuff like that where in Dubai also there was this store called Brands for Less, which I think I'm a Brands for Less girly. My friend's favorite time pass was to just go to a mall and go on to Brands for Less and shop from there. So that is just a tip for all girlies, especially people in uni, is that go to Brands for Less, go to all of these discount stores, and you actually get a lot of good stuff. You can also go to a lot of thrift stores as well. So there was also this huge culture of thrifting there. Sometimes they'll also let you give your old clothes and that credit to buy new clothes. So I mean, just explore everything you can, and you don't know where you will get good deals.
That's lovely. Now you mentioned brands for less. Do we actually get legit brands there? Are they
It is
real
true.
brands?
It is true. So it is actually split into sections. So they have something called normal labels and gold labels. So the gold label products are stuff from like Ralph Lauren, Juicy, Des, Gucci, all of this stuff. So you can actually get those at an insanely discounted products. A few of my guy friends actually stocked up on Ralph Lauren shirts for like half the price. So just knowing these stores and actually going, and honestly I don't see why people will have an issue with like going to these consignment stores, I'd say, but then actually as a broke college student, those are your best friends.
That's lovely. And you also mentioned going to Ajman for like these warehouses, and a
Yes.
few of your friends have traveled there. So is there like a direct connectivity between, let's say, Dubai to Ajman? Is there like a metro available, or how
There
do
are
we travel
buses.
there?
Metro,
Okay,
I'm not really sure, though
okay.
the UAE government has come with an Etihad rail. I'm not sure on what cities it is working at right now, but then we have RTA buses, we also have cabs, but the best ways to go with an RTA bus, it usually costs around 30 to 40 dirhams, which is around 800 900 rupees, so which is
Okay.
convenient. And then yeah, you they drop you off at these stops. You can choose the stop you want. You can choose to walk. Usually, as uni students, we rarely took cabs, so we just walked to where we wanted to
Yeah.
go. And then yeah, you can go, you can shop, you can just explore the city as well.
That's lovely. And the 800 or 30 to 40 dirhams is for like a one-way bus ticket, right?
Um, Usually, I guess.
Usually. Okay. Perfect. So I think these are like lovely tips that you mentioned, especially when it comes to foods, going in groups. Not only is it really fun, but it's also economical, like you mentioned,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you do split the bill, right? So it does give you that experience of a fancy restaurant, but you also go with the group, so it's
yeah,
also kind
yeah.
of economical. And I think the brands for less and thrifting, Ajman, I think they were like super, I would say very valid ideas for uni students, especially in the UAE. So lovely answers. We all know this. Being in university is like running low on sleep almost all the
Yeah.
time. But we know that sleep is extremely important. So, especially when it comes to wellness for women. So, how do you ensure you're well rested? Or even if you're not well rested, or you're like, let's say you're low on sleep, what do you do to take care of yourself on those days?
I think, I mean, I won't lie, my sleep schedule was not the best in uni. But I think some days you just have to draw the line and you have to say no. So in uni, you can't expect people to go home at 9 and then sleep and then wake up at 7. That never happens. But what you can do is draw the line for your own self. For example, if I feel that okay, it's past 1, I should now get back to my room, or I should get back to my apartment. So just setting the schedule for your own self, because that is something that you will do a lot in uni, and especially if you move out, is that you will create your own schedule. You won't have your parents speaking to you, or calling you that come back, or you won't have like family around to to tell you to sleep early and wake up early, but then you have to do that for your own self. So what I personally feel is that you don't have to go out every single night. You don't have to stay awake till 4 a.m. every single night. You can do that on the weekends and weekdays, and then only on the weekends, and then on the weekdays when you do have a 9 a.m. class, draw the line, go back home, and generally get some sleep. But there's something that happens with me, and I'm sure it happens with a lot of people as well, is that if I don't sleep well, I am the worst person to meet the next day. I will be super cranky. I will have a horrible day. And even if for some reason you can't draw those lines, you can also just nap in the afternoon. But then I personally don't like doing that, because then it just wastes my entire day. So if on some days you do like genuinely stay away, just go home and nap. But then always ensure that you draw these boundaries for your own self as well.
I think that's a lovely, very lovely advice. Draw boundaries for yourself because, like you mentioned, we can't expect like everybody to fit our boundaries. People have different sleep schedules. People have different work lines. You know, they have different workflows. Some people work better at night, and maybe they don't have as many classes as us. So I think it's super important, like you mentioned, for us to draw our own boundaries. But one more thing I would like to touch upon here is you mentioned you are personally not a fan of naps, but every time you do nap, do you find that it affects your sleep at night as well, or is that not the case?
No. I honestly can sleep for 12 hours a day and then sleep again at night. I am that
Okay.
person.
That's okay.
What I do feel is that a short 20-minute nap can do wonders, and it can actually save a horrible day. So just you don't have to nap for like 4 hours. You can just
Yeah.
sleep for like half an hour, 40 minutes, and then you will feel so refreshed. So just also knowing these pockets of time is also really important, is that you don't have to just spend your entire day sleeping. So make sure, because I don't know, it is slightly weird, is on days I sleep a lot, I'm actually more exhausted than on days when I normally sleep 8 to 9 hours, because then you're just drowsy the entire day. So it's also, you also, just the way that you have to draw your own boundaries, you also have to some days force yourself to just get out of bed. You have to just be like that, okay, I've slept a lot, now I genuinely have to wake up and I have to do something. So then
Yeah.
also just forcing yourself to not sleep is also important sometimes.
That is really true. I like how you touched upon like the other side of it because we usually talk about low sleep,
Yeah.
but too much sleep is not something that is talked about as much. And that's actually true. I've also been there, and you do oversleep and then you feel like drowsy the
Yeah.
entire day. That is true, yeah. And you also find that if you're either, you've slept too much or you've slept too less, do you also find that your food choices are not the best? Or is it
True.
just me? Okay. Glad to know it's not just me. So, I mean, I find myself reaching out to that pizza or something, which I normally wouldn't have
Uh-huh.
on maybe 8 hours of sleep. But when I've slept 12 hours or when I've slept three, it's a lot easier to, give up our usual diet. So
Yeah,
that's
you're just
something.
lazy then. You're like, okay, I'll
Yeah.
just have Maggie, I'll just have like
Yeah.
something instant. Why should I
Yeah, exactly.
go out, eat healthy when I can just like be lazy? So
Exactly.
it does spill over.
It does. That's true. Okay, now I'd like to ask you. Now, Dubai is a glorious city with people from like all over the world, and it's beautiful, but also it can be a little hard, right, when socializing. So, how did you find socializing to be like for you? What were the challenges specifically that you faced in this aspect?
I feel something that is true for universities globally, especially as Indian students, since there are so many Indian students almost everywhere, is that you just need 2 to 3 Indian friends who you vibe with. You don't, and it is something that I've noticed in uni as well, is that Europeans will hang out with Europeans, Africans will hang out with Africans, Indians will hang out with Indians. So people generally do not like to intermingle between countries or between communities. Of course, it happens. If you're in class, you will have international friends. If you're in clubs, you'll interact with international friends. But I feel like that feeling of safety, that feeling of friendships, only comes from people, from your people, I feel. So socializing at uni is tough, but something that I try to do is that I try to speak to one new person every single day. And that is something that a friend of mine had recommended to me, is that when you go to uni, speak to one new person every single day. So they may not become your best friends, they may not be people you who are your safe space, but you will meet people, you will network, you will learn from all of these people. So when you're in class, when you're in clubs, when you're just hanging out, try to find people to just speak to, and you will be surprised at how friendly or how open to talk people actually are. It's just nobody wants to make the first move. So sometimes just making that first move actually helps. I've actually had a friend who I just spoke to on the bus randomly, and now he's one of my closest friends. And then I had a friend who just sat next to me in class, and I helped her with something in finance, and then we became great friends. So just doing these small things, sometimes taking that initiative actually leads to long-term friendships, to long-term bonds. So just don't be shy.
That's lovely. I think that's a very good tip. Talk to one new person every
Yeah.
day. You weren't general and you didn't just say talk to more people. You gave like a very actionable step that talk to one new person every day. And like you said, taking the first step is like the hardest part. Like nobody wants to do that. Everybody internally they are like really
Yeah.
kind and warm and they do want to talk to you. But then maybe there are people who have even noticed you and they're like, oh, that seems like a nice person. But people are scared to make the first step because we're scared of rejection. We're scared of getting passed by on. So we don't want that. So we're trying to keep ourselves safe. But like you said, pushing ourselves to take the first step can be very rewarding, even if that person does not become our best friend, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
I mean, we
Yeah.
can still have some beautiful friendships that we can nurture this way. So that's lovely. That's lovely that you mentioned it that way.
Yeah.
And now I want to ask you, being an international student and pursuing a degree so far away from home is extremely hard. And did you feel homesick often? And if you did, how did you deal with that? How do you cope up with it?
I was definitely homesick, but then I also wasn't, because I have been
Okay.
somebody who wanted to like get out and like just go since a very young age. So when I finally got to do that, and I finally got to experience that level of freedom and independence, I honestly loved it and I honestly thrived back in Dubai. So I definitely missed my parents. I definitely missed my grandparents a lot, and I missed just the safety of home. But then I also had my twin sister with me, and she lived with me. So I also had a real living piece of home with me there. So then it also felt like home, and I feel you don't get homesick in a place that is your home. And I think Dubai became that home for me. And I think just the people I had around me, my friends, my sister, just really made me feel settled there. And also I feel that we're so technologically advanced, we can speak to our parents, speak back home, go back home anytime that we want, is that sometimes you don't feel homesick. And yeah, I know a lot of people would say that no, I felt horrible, I was so homesick, but I really wasn't.
That's lovely. That's lovely. And I mean, I really like how you mentioned that you don't feel homesick in a place that becomes your home. I think
Yeah.
Dubai is that for many of us. It's a genuinely a very beautiful place. And also it would have really helped that you do have your sister
Yeah.
living with you there as well. So that was lovely. And you mentioned that you thrived there. So was it that you were able to push yourself more in a new place because of the freedom than you did back at home?
I feel bits and pieces of both, because I feel you can push yourself anywhere. You can go from a small town or a small village in India or somewhere to do huge things, and you can live in huge metropolitan cities and not really do anything. So it's not about you pushing yourself, it's just about the accessibility to opportunities that you have. Is being here in Indore, I can't imagine that on a normal metro ride I might just speak to somebody who's a startup founder, or being here in Indore, I won't have access to go to an a AI conference, or to go to a watch week, or to go to an art festival, or to just have all of these experiences, because of course a part of what makes Dubai is just the simple amount of opportunities, the amount of hustle, the amount of I think just prosperity that is there. And I think your environment generally shapes you. When you wake up every day and you see hundreds of people hustling in the metro outside, in offices, at college, it does inspire you to do more and be more as well. Whereas in India, at home, you're more comfortable, you're complacent. You're like, okay, this is my safe space. I don't really have to be inspired here. So I think just being in Dubai and actually being there was my dream. And just living that dream out, I think I was the happiest I could have been there. So I just really, really loved and I really, really missed that city.
I mean, I think it was very true. Like you said, our accessibility truly does shape us because
Yeah.
I've also read somewhere that the place that you live in, it becomes your ceiling. So, how much you achieve, how much you do is to a large extent influenced by the place that you're based out of.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, in India, even in metro cities, even in tier one cities, it's super hard to find startup founders or that level of accessibility that Dubai offers in normal public spaces like a metro, maybe even a bus ride.
Yeah.
Most
Yeah.
people are college students or they're going to work, or you can't really talk to them. People are just tired, they're exhausted. There's not that hustle. That's really
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
there. I mean, enthusiasm is also not there. That is something even I found in Dubai when I moved there. Everybody is so energetic. Everybody is
Yeah.
somewhere to get to. So everyone's like chasing their dreams, running. So you have so much inspiration around you that, like you say, you wake up every single day and you're like, yeah, this is what I do. Even if you're tired, you get energized. You
Yeah.
do get energized. It's that sort of a place. And you also mentioned that you wanted to go to Dubai for a
Yeah.
long time and you really wanted to move out of India since you were a child. So, were you always sure that it was Dubai, or was it something that you were looking at other options as well and you're like shortlisted on this one?
It was never Dubai. Like Dubai was never the plan. I mean, if you asked me back in ninth and 10th grade, I would have said कि कौन जाता है दुबई क्यों क्यों जाऊंगी मैं दुबई. But I think what truly shaped that decision for me were a lot of factors. I feel, I mean, I have loved this city always, but then I mostly saw it as a tourist destination, as just a vacation place, never somewhere where I would go to study and to like live. I think a couple of my mom's friends are based there, so they also recommended that maybe you can explore sending your kids here. But then a major factor was that it was close to home, it felt like home, and it was still international. So my parents were slightly skeptical on sending me far away to the US or the UP immediately. They felt that abhi 3 saal yahan reh lo, and then you can choose where you want to go. So just for them, having that accessibility to us as well was important. Plus it was very, very safe. I think safety was a huge parameter when it came to like choosing where we wanted to study, because just being parents, especially girl parents in general, they're so paranoid. And just with what we've been hearing about the US and the UK and just Europe in general, it's generally considered not safe, especially in the minds of Indian parents. So safety, accessibility, plus a great part of Dubai universities is that they actually offer you chances and opportunities to transfer to the UK or to transfer to the Australia in your second and third years. So we also had that option, and something that I am going to do this year as well. I'm going to be moving to Scotland, so it also gave me an opportunity to experience the UK life, the European life, but not spend my entire 3 years there. So it allowed me to experience the best of both worlds without investing in either one a lot. So I think that is something cool that a lot of universities generally don't offer. They bind you to a single place for 3 to 4 years, which at times that's I feel suffocating sometimes. But then when you have this option to travel to 3 different countries, maybe even more, it just opens a lot of opportunities and plans for you as well, and something that has actually shaped up as well, and something that I can actually now lean back on due to whatever's happened.
Wow. So you mentioned international transfers and you are going to Scotland now. Is that common for universities in the UAE to have like half of the program in the UAE and the other half in like Europe or US?
It is, it is. So in the UAE, there are generally two sort of universities. First of them are national Emirati universities, such as I think the Zayed Institute of Technology, or they have a lot of schools. So these are national Emirati universities which are government funded and based in the UAE. And then there are international universities like Harriet, like Wollongong, like NYU also has a campus in Abu Dhabi. So all of these international universities who have their subsidiary campuses or extra campuses here. So if you're a campus at a you're a student at a campus in Dubai, you also have access to your home campus. So you can transfer onto your home campus, be it in UK, Australia. I think we have a couple from somewhere in Europe as well. So you can transfer to these universities at any time you get, and the entire I think um, the syllabus, the teachers, the teaching module is everything based from the UK and based from Europe. But you actually get to experience that at a slightly lesser cost with just being closer to home. So I think that option and that mix was just something that really fit right for me.
That's lovely. I think UAE is probably like the best midway between India and like
Yes.
Europe or US. So you do get to experience like the best of both worlds. You have like
Yeah.
an international life, you have the accessibility, but you're also closer to home
Yeah.
in case you want to come back, right? So that's lovely. And touch upon this. What does your workout schedule look like? Now, by workout, I do not mean hardcore workouts. I just want to know what do you do to try to get in a little bit of movement? Do you do steps? Do you do like strength training, or do you actually work out? What is it like for you, especially in university?
So I am a newly crowned gym girly. I was never a gym girly
Oh,
before.
okay.
My sister's the one who was head of that department. I'm just like a new intern, I would say. But I feel back in uni, I think the best part is that you get to work out with your friends. And I used to work out with my friends, and it was actually fun. It took the pain and the hustle out, and it just turned into like a fun activity and a fun game as to who can lift the hardest, who can run the fastest, who can like just do like the most crazy stuff. So that was fun. Usually, something I do back in India as well is I do strength and cardio both. So I generally do one group of muscles, so like chest, tricep, back, bicep, or legs, and then I pair that with a 50-minute cardio routine. So you do your strength training first, 4 or 5 exercises with weights, then you do half an hour on treadmill, and that is also incline. Then I do 10 minutes of CrossFit or cross trainer, and then I do 10 minutes just on the cycle to relax and cool down. So you also get your cardio, you get to build endurance, you get to like burn fat, and then you also get to do strength training, so you build your muscles and gain strength. So that is a split I do daily. And then sometimes I also go swimming, sometimes we go to play some sport. Yeah, and like that is what a usual workout looks like. And I think for any uni student, just like 30 minutes in the gym and then at the 15-20 minute swim if you can is great. But
Yeah.
and also back in uni you walk so much, your steps go from 10 to 15,000 to 20,000 almost every single day, that your cardio is almost taken care of. So all you have to worry about is how you do your strength training, maybe play a sport, maybe swim, and then yeah, you're good to go.
That's lovely. I think I really like your split. You mentioned like strength, you're also focusing on cardio, and you're also relaxing a little bit by doing the cycle, and your cardio is on a treadmill incline. So you are getting in like it's a very good, I think, a split for a workout. And I also want to ask, Dubai is famous for paddle. Have you ever tried playing the sport?
We
Oh,
played
okay.
once, but then
Okay.
it is also super expensive. So of course being broke, we couldn't afford it several times. But Dubai does one really cool thing. It is called a 30-day fitness challenge that happens every November, and they set up these fitness villages all across the city, and you get free access to I think turfs, you that basketball courts, you that paddle courts, you that pickleball courts, you that are running track, you that RD classes on Zumba, aerobics, yoga. So they run this entire month of fitness programs every November. I'm so sorry, my phone is blowing up. Just a second.
Oh,
And yeah, and I think in Dubai, community fitness is such a huge thing. Is that it just inspires you as well. Every morning, if you go to Kite Beach in Dubai, they have a huge running and cycling track that you will find people working out, running, cycling, doing all sorts of activities. So just having these community places as well is that when people just get together to run, to work out, to be healthy, just also inspires you to do more as well. So I think that is also something I loved about the city, is that you aren't alone when you work out. You have the entire city with you. So that is just really cool.
so beautiful. I
Yeah,
mean, it's so nice to be. I think it becomes like another socializing
it
session of
does. It
sorts, right?
does.
And especially you do have like a lot of camaraderie, a lot of bonding when you're working out and just
Yeah.
getting it together. So that's lovely. And you mentioned these villages that are set up. Now, what are these? Are they like courts or what do they look like?
Uh-huh. So, it is a mix of clothes. So generally they are huge. They're usually spread across either on the beaches or in the parks where they have huge open spaces. So they generally have a small gym with couple of weight machines, a couple of dumbbells. Then they have a basketball court, a paddle court, a cricket turf, a football court. Some places also I think have table tennis and tennis, and then you can both these sports you can just go with your friends, and they're all free. So especially for uni students, it's great, right? You get access to stuff that would generally cost you around 40 to 50 dirhams per hour for free. So I mean, we just completely exploited that fitness thing to its core, and I think it's just really cool is that the government does so much for the people, for the residents to just be fit. They also host an annual run, so it's called the Dubai Run, and it is insane. Like it is thousands upon thousands of people just running, walking, having fun. It's like a mega marathon, and it's insane.
Wow. And so also, have you also seen a lot of women's workout spaces be separate from that of men?
Um, Not exactly. So, for example, Kite Beach, where we generally went to, since it was closer to my apartment, it it was mixed. So you had women, you had mothers, you had like uni girls and like boys, like everybody intermixing. I'm sure in some areas they do have a separate segregation between men and women, but I mean in all of these public places I didn't really see that, or personally maybe I may not have been to these places where they have this segregation.
Okay, perfect. Now, I would like to ask you, when people have schedules as packed as yours, especially being in university, it can get really hard, and also you're in a new city. So, burnouts seem inevitable. Did you ever face burnouts? And if so, what did you do to handle them?
Um, I wouldn't say I experienced burnout because we were doing the opposite of burning out, honestly. But I did feel sometimes overwhelmed with so much that you have to do. Is instantly when you're back at home, you don't have to like think even a second about where my clothes are going to go, what I'm going to eat, what how I have to clean my entire room. But then back in uni, you have all of these chores added to your schedule as well, and then honestly, time taken. I'm somebody who can't truth to save my life. So for me, just like spending time in the kitchen took a huge part of my days, is that I had to figure out what to eat, how to eat, like, and just took everything. So that took out time for me. And then you have to go to classes, you have to do your extra extracurricular stuff after uni. I had my podcast to work on. I was studying, so I had to do these extra things as well. Then you have your friends around, so then you're also constantly around them, so you're also going out to all of these places. And in Dubai, what I personally did is that I tried to go to every event that I can. So I went to art festivals, conferences, just anything which was free. So, and they had these events almost every single week, every single bi-weekly. So then just going to these places was also something that took a lot of my time, but those were amazing experiences. And also a huge thing I noticed is that transportation and commute was a challenge. Is because in India you have your own cars, you have your own drivers, so like you can get from place A to place B in like 5 minutes. But there you have to take the bus. The bus will run on a specific schedule. You have to take the metro, and it is just peak traffic in Dubai is the worst. So just I think in my first semester I lived 21 kilometers away from my uni, so I spent almost 2-3 hours a day just going back and forth. So I think commute was also such a huge part of time being away, but then I think you just manage. I don't know how, but you manage.
Well, and like you mentioned, you have to do everything on your
Yeah.
own alongside doing uni and being with your friends. And like you said, commute is a very huge, a time factor as well. But we've all heard that, traveling in Dubai anywhere to anywhere is like really fast. Is that not true? Because you mentioned 2 to 3 hours.
It is fast if you take a tab. But then tabs are super expensive and something that you cannot afford as a uni student. Of course, so Dubai is split into several zones. So you have downtown, then you have Internet City and JBR, and then you have Bar Dubai or Old Dubai. So for example, if you go from Internet City to downtown, where my uni was, it would generally take you around 40 minutes by metro. But if you had to go from my uni to Bar Dubai where we stayed, it was at least an hour. And so in Dubai they had peak hours. So from morning 7 to 10, and then afternoon 4 to 8 was wild. So usually a commute that would take you about half an hour on a non-peak hour will take you an hour or even an hour and a half at times in these peak hours, since it is so insane. And also, something in Dubai is that even though they have so many metro stations and so many modes of transport, getting from that station to where you actually want to go is an additional challenge. And generally, people take cabs, but we being pros, we want. So then that also took on time for us to go from the station to then to maybe a restaurant or a mall that we really wanted to go. But I think the metro system in Dubai works wonderfully. So no matter where you are, no matter where you want to go, it is in maybe a 15-minute walk, you can get to almost anywhere. So that is great.
Wow, that seems like a beautiful system. So I would ask you, yeah, now going from one place, especially from like India to another place, is difficult in the sense that our education system is like completely different than what is practiced internationally. So I assume that shift might have been stressful.
It
Was it
was.
stressful for you?
It was, I think the most stressful part was that in my grades is because my uni started, so we followed a UT grading system. So usually in a UT grading system, and 80 is generally the maths that the students. And in India, 80 is considered okay. Like it's not amazing, but it's average. So when I got my first sem results, I got like 70, 75 and 80, and the first time I got, I was like, okay, I've got 80. Like I I mean, I've been somebody who's gotten 90s and 95s. So I was used to seeing that on my results. So when I got 80, I was like, huh, really? Like, ye kya ho gaya? But then that is when I realized that that is how it is graded. So I think it's a very small thing, a very insignificant thing, but then also goes to show just how different these systems are. That and the stuff that you have to get used to as well. But I feel my uni was very chill. I mean, academically it was chill, and I am so grateful it was that is so that it gave me time to work on my projects and to actually work on stuff that I wanted to. So, but in India, I think we take academics so seriously, and like we base our entire worth on classes and academics. And also, an amazing thing is that we had no attendance. So a lot of my friends who are in Indian unis always complain and cry about them having 75% or 85% attendance needs, but we had zero. So, which I think was really flexible and something that I loved. So I think that was a huge difference between like Indian education and international education, is that international education generally gives you a lot more freedom, a lot more flexibility over time to actually work on what you want. But then there's also a flip side to it, is that when you don't have these set schedules and you don't have these requirements, a lot of people who may not be as ambitious and driven just get that much time to waste and to just go out and party. So that is when you having a strict schedule and you setting your boundaries become all the more important, because now even your unis is not the one who's setting these boundaries, it's you who have to. So I think that is the biggest difference between Indian education and international, that Indian will give you a set schedule, it'll give you your boundaries, but internationally you have to set your own boundaries.
Wow, so that would be like an added work for you as well. As flexible as it is, with freedom comes responsibilities,
Yes.
like you said.
Yeah.
So it's super important. Not only are you taking care of your chores, but you should also, have like proper schedules. You should be on top of things. So wow, I think that's beautiful in the sense that it's very gratifying. It
Yeah.
gives you a lot of freedom, but it's also super hard. So that's something new. That's something new for me. Okay. Now I would like to ask you, what has been the single most gratifying or the best thing about you moving to Dubai? If you just had to name one.
I think the most gratifying part was when my parents came to visit. And it felt bittersweet because I was inviting my home into my new home. So just
Wow.
taking them around the city, just acting like a resident and acting like a local in that city,
Yeah.
just made me feel so at home. Is that I could then invite my Indian life into my new life. So I think just having that experience, it's exploring the city with them. I'd been to Dubai a couple of times before, but then there's a difference when you take your parents around as a tourist and then as a local. So I think that week I spent with them was like the best.
Wow. That's so beautiful. Like you mentioned that you are a local there and you know a lot more things which you wouldn't have known
Yeah.
when you were a tourist and when you were younger more of. So now you've had all the time to explore the city, to live in the city, and that must be so beautiful. I can just like imagine it as you mentioned. That's beautiful. And now I want to ask you, let's take a hypothetical situation. Suppose there's a 20-year-old woman. She's looking to move to Dubai to study. What are your top three tips for her if you could only give her three?
I think one is um have a net worth in the city before you move to that city. Is because if you feel that you're gonna just go and figure stuff out once you're there, no. Figure out your people, figure out opportunities before you go there, because as many as opportunities there are, they're also super competitive and it is cutthroat. So have a net worth, have certain opportunities lined up before you go, and have a clear, I think, plan in mind that once I do this, and this is what I want to do, and these are the things that I'm going to be focused on. Don't just randomly go like, okay, I'm just going to move and then I'll see. No, see first and then go. Secondly, I feel in Dubai, you have to be really, really adaptable. You have to be diverse. You have to be open minded. You have to be adaptable with people around, with cultures and communities around, because there are so many and they're so different from you. And you also have to be respectable of their culture, their standards. Dubai has their own set way of doing things as well. So you have to be very careful of what standards and what rules that the community there has, even though these may not be unsaid. So a common rule with something with clothing is Dubai is very free with clothing. But then there are certain places where you have to dress modestly, and you have to make sure that you're not like, wearing short clothes. And that is not restricting, that is just respect for them and their culture, because at the end of the day, it's their country. You are just a resident. So just also being careful of the customs there is super important. And I think thirdly is have fun. Dubai has so much to offer. There are so many places you can go to. Something new is happening every single day. So please, please go out as much as you can. Go to as many events as you can. Go to as many places as you can. Just go. Just let's spend your time away from home. I think me personally, when I was there, I only came back home to sleep. And I think if you can do that, do that.
Wow, that's beautiful. I think those are lovely tips. Have a network of people before you move there. Be adaptable and just have fun. I mean,
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful three tips, I must say. Ask you, diet is super important when it comes to a woman's wellness, right? What were some challenges you faced in terms of food in university?
A lot. A
Okay,
lot. My
okay.
first semester, I was the worst with food. I was happy. I was eating fried food every single day. I was having the same fried chicken wrap every single day. I was eating the same crap every single day, and that shows. The thing with your diet is that it shows. If you have a bad diet, it'll show. If you have a good diet, it'll show. So when I came back home from first semester, I was low-key fat. Okay, I was fat, and then that just hit me. Is that I had spent the past 3 months eating absolute bullshit, and now I was to a point where I was like, okay, half of my clothes don't fit. I'm super unhealthy. I need to fix this. So the next semester, when I went back in January, I was more intentional with what I ate. I meal prepped already, and I also the day before I had in mind what I want to eat the next day. And I think something that I practice as well is that the first time I went, I packed a lot of ready to eat in instant food with me, Maggi, MTR, all of these stuff. The next time I went, I took half of the stuff I took the first time. It's because if you don't have, you can't eat junk that's not there. So just also cleansing your kitchen from stuff that you know you should not be eaten and you don't want to eat is very important. Is because as you mentioned, we all have those days where we're lazy, we don't want to eat, and then if you have Maggie sitting right in front of you, you will eat it. But instead
Yeah,
of Maggie, if you have fruits, you will have no choice but to have that fruit.
yeah.
So I think just also being intentional with what you keep in your kitchen and what you actually choose to eat is really important. But then I also feel you can't go on these crazy diets. So for example, when I initially was trying to lose off that fat, I was like, okay, I will quit all sugar, I will quit all junk, I will go on to full month mode, and that rarely happens, especially when you're out at uni, you will go out. So I think finding that balance is super important. Is that you can eat 5 days at home, eat clean 5 days, and then eat bad one day. And then that way you're also mentally prepared that okay, if I eat clean these 5 days, I will get that day of like in indulgence. So just structuring that out is also super important. And then again, also having people to share that food with is great, because the more people that eat, the less there is for you. So I mean, just like ration out as much as you can as well. And yeah, I mean, I think it all just comes down to intentionality and what you really want to do. There is nobody that can stop you from eating junk every single day, and there is nobody who can stop you from eating clean every day. It's what you want.
Love that. I love how you mentioned balance because it's so tempting to want to go all in because we have that all or nothing mindset.
Yeah.
It's so easy, like you mentioned, to think that okay, I'm going to quit all sugar, I'm going to eat clean for like 30 days straight, no breaks, no cheat food. But it doesn't happen, especially when you're in uni, you have so much to do. Your brain actually
Yeah.
craves sugar. We need that. We need a little bit of sugar. We
Yeah.
need a little bit of junk to, like, just rewire our systems and to recharge our
Mm.
systems. So finding that balance, like you said, and meal prepping, oh God, that's so important.
Yeah.
That really helps. And also, you cannot eat what's not in your pantry, and
Yeah.
you would be lazy. So why would you go to the store and get something? You add
Yeah.
resistance to between you and the snacks. So that's, I think, a great tip as well. So now we've come to our last question, which is, if you could do only one wellness routine or one thing for your wellness for the rest of your life, what would that be? Your ride or die?
I think okay, I might have to think for that.
Please, that's fine.
I think it is not a habit, it is not a product, it is not a thing. I think it is self-respect. Because
Wow.
if you don't respect yourself, you will go out and eat junk. If you don't respect yourself, you won't get up on lazy days to go to the gym. If you don't respect yourself, you won't go out and invest into good skincare and good makeup products. It all just comes down to the standard that you hold for your own self, and it is something that you have to do for your own self. So you can have the best of the best products, but if you don't respect yourself enough to follow a routine to include those are as good as not there. You can have access to the best gyms, to the best trainers, to the best facilities, but if you don't respect yourself enough to get up and go, they're all going to waste. So I think just really respecting what your body needs and what you need is way more important than any access to products or facilities or anything in general. And I feel I learned that in my second semester. But this first semester I didn't respect myself, and that showed on my face, on my body, on my lifestyle. But when I started respecting myself and when I started putting boundaries, it then showed on my skin and on my lifestyle. So I think just respect yourself. That is it.
Beautiful. That's, I think, one of the best tips I've ever heard when it comes to a woman's wellness. It's beautiful. Thank you so much, and thank you for making this happen today, Rishta. I mean, I really, like I mentioned, I know how your schedule is, but you took out the time to make this happen. I know you should go out immediately after, so it's such an honor for me. It's really an honor for me to
It's a
have you as
pleasure,
our first
Maitri.
guest.
Come on. I mean, this is one conversation I've been looking forward to since that time we spoke, and I'm so glad I got to be here and speak to you and just yap, and I'm so glad to be here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Maitri.
It was such a pleasure. Thank you for making it to the end of this episode. It really means a lot. If you like the work that we do or feel like you could support us, please subscribe. And if you want to stay up to date with all of our latest episodes, click on the bell icon and click on share so you never miss a new update. See you in the next one. Bye bye.